Good morning and welcome to Homes and Lifestyles Canada. I'm Kim Hayden, veteran real estate agent and your host. On today's show, we're discussing going green. We're joined by Marco Corello, Lance Floor, and Donald Jantz. But before we jump in, let's take the first stop on our home tour. Welcome back, and we're talking going green. And green is a huge word, and it encompasses lots, eh?
It really does.
It really does. Let's start with Donald, actually, from Green Calgary. Tell me, what does Green Calgary do?
Green Calgary's a not-for-profit charity that's been around for 40 years, helping community really on their journey to sustainability. So they've run programs like rain barrel sales and visited people's homes to help them reduce how much water they use, and on all aspects of sustainability, helping just people wherever they are in their journey find that step forward.
It's all baby steps, eh?
It is all
little
baby
ones.
steps.
First step is the...
And you can be anywhere on that spectrum. You know, you can start with knowing nothing or feeling like you don't. We all do know things, to, you know, somebody who's really advanced. So wherever you are in that spectrum, Green Calgary can help you.
So when we hear the term green, eco-friendly, you know, environmentally friendly, what does green mean?
I'll
Lance,
dive in.
you dive in.
So green means so many things, but in the context of construction, right, it starts even with how we build homes, right? So it looks at things like waste stream. It looks at things like the carbon footprint of the whole process of building homes. It looks at the kind of energy we use while we're building the home. It looks at things like water conservation. And then it looks at things like how do people live in the home that can change their usage patterns in the home as well.
What does green mean to you?
Well, it means to be more efficient in the sense that if you're living in a home, what are some of the aspects that you can do, not only as behaviors, but what if you were to renovate your home, what kind of things can you do to make it more efficient?
You're just biting at the top. What does it mean to you?
There's so many aspects to it, and it's hard to know sometimes where to start. But going off that, I mean, it's as simple as reducing your waste, which often will reduce your expenses, reduce your costs. So putting a Nest or a smart thermometer on that controls your heat so it turns off when you're not there. It's not just green, but it actually saves you money. I think that's often the case.
Yeah, little things, even just like adjusting your or even getting like during the summer the water sprinkler timers, those types of things.
Timers, or on your Christmas lights, having a timer.
We'll get back to Lance from Built Green, but up next is the Antidote with Anna Cummings. Okay, so Lance, tell me, from Built Green, what does that mean?
Built Green is a third-party certification program for new home construction. So both single family and also high density, so multifamily. And in addition to being a certification program, it's also about education. It's helping to educate builders on how to be more sustainable. We also work with municipalities on the impact of things like third-party rating systems.
So in Calgary surrounding areas, if we wanted to see an example of one of the projects you've worked with, where could we go? Who has been part of that?
There's several leading builders in the Alberta market that are Built Green, certified Built Green builders. XL Homes is the builder I work for. There's also Homes by Jamin, or Jamin Built in this market.
Yes.
And Landmark, who's a
okay.
major builder in the Edmonton area
Yes.
as well.
Excellent, excellent. I always like to see things. I need to know who's doing what. So Marco, you're an energy advisor. What is an energy advisor?
So what we do is we actually go into people's homes and we actually rate it. So the easiest way to explain is when you're buying an appliances, they actually have an energy rating on it. It has the Energy Guide. So what we do is we actually provide that for the homeowner. So we look at everything from your insulation, your orientation of the home. We look at your mechanical system, and then we input all of that information and we actually model it. And it breaks it down. It also it educates also the homeowner of where the energy is being spent, what they can do. And we take it as a whole approach. Like I'm really heavy into building science, so you cannot change one thing in a home without affecting the other. So we look at it as a holistic
So the sequence of how to get.
Absolutely.
So, but then you have to have that first step, eh?
Absolutely. Like one of the most cost-effective ways of actually helping a homeowner is to help them understand how leaky their home is and where they can actually seal it.
I'm waiting for the Tupperware houses, you know, you put the lid on and. Do you remember that Tupperware, the Tupperware commercials? Okay, sorry, I just went off on the whole Tupperware thing. Forgive
And
me.
another thing we also look at is energy efficiency is great, but we also we need to look at what about the air quality? Because energy efficiency is great, but if you're not healthy in the home, well, that's going to be an issue too. So just to give you an example, if it's too tight, then you need to ventilate. So one of the factors, what we do right now is we call what's called a heat recovery ventilator, where we actually bring in the fresh air from the outside and we exhaust the stale air from the inside. But it actually, there's an actual heat exchanger. They don't actually mix, but it actually removes some of the energy from the one that's being exhausted and bring in the fresh air from the inside.
And can you pull from basement all the way up? So depending on time of year, you can actually circulate the home, keep it cooler, hotter, those types of things? Is there?
No, it's just to ventilate. It's not a matter of conditioning the air. It's more just to ventilate the
Just
home.
keep it clean, eh?
Yes.
So
Your-
how can this?
Your
Sorry.
heating system can do that. So most furnaces would have summer fans on them. And those actually you would use to help equalize the air temperature in the home, like in the summer. You're pulling cool air out of the basement and circulating it throughout the home. So your heating system can do that for
So
you.
instead of relocating to the basement, you have the fan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we'll continue this discussion, but first, a legal minute with Kahane Law. Let's continue our discussion on going green. So we were talking about going green. Can it affect the value of the home?
Absolutely. If you were to take two similar homes, they're identical in all aspects, and you were to rate these two homes, and one would be a lot more energy efficient than the other, I think people would lean towards the one that's more energy efficient. You know, we go out, we buy food, we know how many calories are in there, or you're buying a car, you know how much fuel it takes or how much it costs. What we don't know is how much does it cost to operate a home. We know what our mortgage payments will be, we know what our taxes will be, but we don't know how much our operating costs will be. So that's what the energy label is there for.
Excellent, excellent. Are you seeing this effect in other markets? Are we seeing an impact with the green,
Yes.
building green?
From a number of standpoints, even appraisers are starting to comment on the fact if a home is a third-party certified Built Green home. And it's not just the Built Green certification, there are other certifications like LEED and Energy Star that have value. I know some realtors will actually mention if the home is a certified Built Green home in the listing. And I've noticed even in other parts of the world, you'll see different kinds of energy rating systems showing up on real estate listings.
Yeah, we're starting to see down in the southern United States, they're starting to have where it can actually impact your mortgage lending rate as to the energy efficiency of the home because of the cost of operations of the homes, keeping it going. So are you seeing anything with the Green Initiative in Calgary? What is something that you think is going to be the big impact for homeowners?
Well, there's so many changes going on with how we're building homes with the certification programs. The biggest changes, from my perspective, are along the lines of just finding ways to be more efficient. Energy isn't expensive in Calgary, but you never like to spend money on something that you don't see real value for. So reducing waste, and that's around having more tight homes that don't leak energy.
So what are some of the municipal, provincial, and federal initiatives that have come in play that homeowners can take advantage of? We'll start with.
The building standards, and this is more for these folks, but building standards are changing, and Alberta's starting to adopt more higher levels of standards that are moving Alberta's built environment, new housing, but also existing to be on a higher standard, higher quality.
Yeah, there's a provincial program or agency now called Energy Efficiency Alberta. So people could Google that and learn more about what they're up to. And then there's another incentive on mortgage lending as well, in terms of if you're on a high ratio mortgage insured by CMHC or Genworth, you can actually reduce the premium on your mortgage insurance if you have a certified home.
I didn't know that.
I'd like
That
to
is-
add to that, if you
Okay,
don't mind.
absolutely.
Sure, and that's great. I know if you're part of Built Green, you do get 15% off your premium off of your mortgage loan insurance. So with an EnerGuide rating, if you're taking on any renovations and you want to make your home more efficient, there's actually a program for that as well. So without getting into details, but you're able to get up to about a 25% rebate off of your mortgage loan insurance. And this is, and
Wow.
when you model most of these homes, some of them are real simple. Just by replacing a furnace would get you to 25%. Now they're all different. It would be something that would need to be looked at, absolutely. But there's a lot of money that could be left on the table if people don't take this.
Where could they find the information on that?
That would be CMHC, and I don't want to leave out the other
Yeah.
insurance would be Genworth and Canada Guarantee, or give an energy advisor a call.
That is
Absolutely.
amazing. So 15%, 25%, and just the simple fact that you're leaving something behind better for the next generation. I mean, even if we take away all the financial incentives, this, we can't keep building landfills. We can't keep consuming the way we've been consuming for the last 100 years. It's been great. Don't get me wrong. I love a warm house, in-floor heating. I like all that, but it's just that knowing that you're doing something better.
I think that feeds back into why green. Because if you think about a typical home, the bones don't change very much, the wood framing, but the operational systems, like the heating systems, can last for 30 years. So if you put in an inefficient heating system, that heating system's going to be chugging along, being inefficient for the next 30 years. And another big one that I would point out is windows. And I think people often don't think about windows. And if you think about the double pane aluminum frame windows that our parents had in their homes, they're incredibly inefficient. They're about R2. And modern, production windows, you're getting into R4, R5. But then a lot of builders now are putting in triple glazed windows.
Yes.
And they've got multiple coatings, they've got argon-filled gas spaces, and again, that now is getting up into R7, R8. So the windows can have a huge impact on a home.
What are some creative space options? Because a lot of people are going down in size to be environmentally friendly. What are some things?
One that really comes to mind is with the advent of the bin programs. We've got a green bin, right,
Yes.
for yard waste and organic waste. We've got the blue bin for recycling, and then our regular kitchen and household waste. What about making it easier to do that? What about making it easier to use those bins? Because what do you do with that stuff in your house until you take it out to the bin? So builders are starting to think about, well, how can we maybe create space in your pantry or in the rear entrance of your home or in your kitchen so that you can accumulate those things and then take them out to the bin? So we have to become more mindful and more thoughtful about how we accommodate that in the home.
And if we're going green, a few less pairs of shoes, a few more bins for recycle. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I recently did a renovation, and it hadn't occurred to us to ask for that, but I'd always compost out in my backyard. But it was a mess. My wife didn't like how it smelled. I don't think it smelled, but what our renovator put in, a pull-out thing. So our recycling has a spot, our green, our compost has a spot, and it's out of the way, and it really works. So I agree with that. It's
and
really
and your wife's happy.
great. My wife is happy. Most important thing of all.
Most important, happy wife, happy life. Excellent, excellent. So when we're looking at green technologies, solar, geothermal, and wind. What do you, in your crystal ball, what do you think? Where are we at with that? Where are we going?
Solar would be, because there's just so much potential, and the costs have just come down dramatically. Now, what I propose and what I tell most clients is, before we even talk about solar panels, we have to start thinking about conservation. It's a lot cheaper to conserve before we start to generate. So, but having said that, I'm sure Lance could expand on this. Is a lot of I say challenges with putting solar panels would be spaces on the roof. Also, the orientation is really important. So if you got a north-facing backyard, you're kind of limited.
Yes. Well, but technology, it's moving so rapidly.
Absolutely.
So maybe those north backyards won't be so hard to outfit in 10 years' time. Lance, what are you seeing between the three big ones?
Well, I agree on solar, and from a new build perspective, it's important to be thoughtful about what's going to make it easier to retrofit solar in the future. So NRCan, Natural Resources Canada, has a standard called Solar Ready. And so some builders, and the builder I work for, we do kind of a pre-rough-in for solar. So we think about the things that Marco talked about in terms of having adequate space on the roof for panels, like mounting points for panels, but then we also have conduits that get
Through the home.
through the home down
absolutely.
into your utility room. And then also we kind of rough in some connections into your hot water system, and we would create space for potentially batteries in the future, or an inverter, which you would need to run photovoltaic panels. So yeah, we're trying to be forward thinking in terms of making it easier to do those things later on in the home.
Be nice if the city let us do like a reverse feed. So if you're producing too much solar on your house, because I know they're doing that with some of the schools. Some of the schools now are being outfitted with some solar, and when they do a reverse feed back into
They
the
do
city.
have that. It's
They
called
do.
It's called grid tie.
It's grid type.
Yes.
Okay. And when do you think we could do that for our houses? That would be
No,
awesome.
we could, but I believe in Alberta you could only, I believe you could only sell back as much as you use, so you cannot actually make a profit from it. But you can offset or actually come out net zero.
Excellent. See, I'm gonna be able to live for free here soon.
Very soon. I have panels on my house as part of that renovation. I ended up putting some, and I sell it out. It's not at a high fee, so it hardly offsets the distribution charge. Seems to overwhelm.
Yes.
But you make money. Absolutely. I see a credit on my energy bill.
Really?
For my solar energy that I produce. I could have put in batteries, but the batteries at that time cost about 2/3 as much as the panels themselves. So I didn't really have space for it.
So you're
But-
seeing a savings on your energy.
Absolutely.
Do you have
And I
teenagers?
just love those panels.
Do
It
you
makes
have
me happy.
teenagers, Donald?
I do.
Okay, and they're the most expensive thing in the entire world, and you are seeing a savings. So
Yes.
that says it right there.
Yeah, I need to reduce how much food my teenagers.
You're offsetting your food bill.
That's tough, but that's all right.
Well, with the rollout of the green bins, I know this past summer we had a really hot summer. What are some tips for composting and things that we can do to keep the smell down? You had mentioned the smell earlier. You don't smell it. Your wife did, and she's happy now. So how do we make everybody happy?
A lot of it has to do with the mix. So if you are able to put some leaves or brown type of materials, grass clippings, those kinds of things, and you mix it in, it reduces that smell quite a bit. It can eliminate it. You could also shred newspaper. That could work as well, because it would compost, and that it just kind of dries it out while making it better dirt, and it makes it a little less odorous.
What's the coolest thing you've seen in the compost world? Like price? Not even talking about price. What's the coolest technology you've seen?
There's lots of interesting things going on, but on yesterday, I took my daughter to Green Calgary for a birthday party, and they looked at this. They looked at a lot of things that were really, really fun. One of them was a worm composter. So they had these red wiggler worms that were in the compost, and the kids loved it. They were, they learned all about worms. They were looking under with a magnifying glass to identify different parts. It was excellent. So that was really fun. You can have in your house these red wigglers and compost in there. If you're a small family, a couple people, it would easily produce all the dirt that you would need, kind of.
Okay,
Take up your
red
house.
wigglers, red wigglers. Excellent.
Exactly.
Worms in my house. Well, my son brought home a snake once, so that I guess worms are better than a snake,
I
let me
think so.
tell
They
you.
stay in their container, they're small.
So if someone's new to green or going green, what's the first step? From your perspective, what's the first thing that they could do? We're talking low entry level here.
Yeah, we have a help kind of line at Green Calgary, and they're a good place to start. They help people at all different ranges, and call them and talk to them. Really, it would be really probably valuable. We have a bookstore, or not a bookstore, a library, where you can come in and borrow books and talk to the staff there. I think that would be probably a good step.
Good step there. Lance?
Talk to your builder. Like if you're looking at a new home or looking at a project, like even a condo project, ask them what they're doing about energy efficiency and also about sustainability. Because that will usually show up in the builder's written specification. So you could look at that and see what kinds of things the builder's prepared to do about sustainability.
And when we're looking at our houses, what's the
I think
first step?
education is key, and you want to make sure that if something, you see something and it's they say it's energy efficient, make sure it is a third party verified, that it's and people that are selling energy efficient products, that there's no agenda behind it. Like so, myself as an energy advisor, I don't promote any products, I don't promote any contractors. It's completely third party, unbiased, and that's really important.
I think energy efficient and organic are two words that people have just kind of run with. So absolutely,
Yes.
check it out and research. Did you have anything else that you guys wanted to share? Was there a big point, like one that we didn't drive home?
There's one thing that sort of tags on to something that Marco was talking about. As an energy advisor, what enables third-party certification programs to work is the use of an independent energy advisor. So even builders like Excel and Jamin and Landmark need to use energy advisors to do the independent certification on the homes that we build. So we need resources like Marco.
What I enjoy, what I really like about my job is, I know what actually pains me is I go to some of these homes and people have done some renovations, and they spent so much money on some energy. Yes, some stuff are really energy efficient, but it's not really cost effective. So I really go in there and I try to not promote products, but explain to them, well, if you're going to do windows or you're going to do your furnace, this is how much you're going to save. So it becomes a decision, an informed decision for the homeowner, and to me that's really important.
The municipalities have a huge part to play in this too. I think earlier in the discussion we talked about the building code, and this year saw the introduction of energy code provisions in the building code. So municipalities can kind of help the whole sustainability agenda keep moving forward.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they all have a part to play, that our levels of government and our industry and not-for-profits, along with obviously our community, kind of thinking about how we want our communities to look for our kids. So
One of the things I love about Canada in general is its forward motion. Canadians think about not just today, but what's coming down the pipe. Where are we in the world, like when it comes to the Green Initiative? I know that we've got, all the lands, Finland and Greenland and Iceland and Sweden, and all those places are eons ahead of us. But aside from that area of the world, where are we within that status? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I would say we've got lots of work to do.
Yes.
yeah,
I would say we've got lots of work
we're
to
doing
do.
all right, but there's so much to do. And what's interesting to me is it's not like this burden. It's this huge opportunity with the change with solar panels getting cheaper and energy changing how we use it. It's a business opportunity that could power generations to come. At the same time, it just reduces to nothing our impact on where we are, like where we live. So it's this huge win-win kind of situation that if we embrace it, we'll just be so much better off.
And I think that with oil taking the dip that it's taken, I think that it's allowed us to redirect our energies. And we're looking at things that we may not have looked at when we were still riding on the high of the oil. So are you seeing that come back, with the change in people's direction or intent here in Calgary?
The desire not to waste becomes a little more intense when you have less, to waste. And we're so rich, we don't even realize it sometimes. So yeah, I think it's a good time to think about these things and adjust a little bit and open up these opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.